Imagine this huge industry, right? It touches literally every corner of the globe. But pinning down what it is, well, that changes depending on who you ask. It's built on just moving somewhere else for a bit.
Yeah, temporary movement,
Yeah.
usually for pleasure, holidays.
But then it's also called this, like, vital force for global peace. It seems simple, like just relaxing somewhere new.
But it's not simple at all, is it? Underneath is this incredibly complex web. Relationships, money, rules.
Rules with really strict time limits and definitions that decide if you're even counted.
Exactly. So we often think tourism, we think beaches or sightseeing.
But what if we told you it's actually a highly complex system, almost like a global network, governed by these specific criteria?
That's what we're diving into today. The real meaning of travel, the nitty-gritty.
We're exploring the essential bits, the criteria that officially make someone a tourist.
And why that little difference between being a tourist and just a day tripper? Well, it's not just words.
No way. It defines billions, literally billions, in economic activity all over the world.
Okay, let's unpack this. We were tackling the foundational stuff today. The definitions that shape the entire global tourism industry.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We need to define tourism from a few angles.
Different perspectives.
Then figure out the difference between tourists and those other visitors, excursionists.
Yeah, the day trippers.
We need to understand the key elements used to define any traveler. Explain what makes a tour, what makes a destination work.
Compare tourism to other big industries, too. See what makes it unique.
And finally, really get a handle on its importance economically, socially, and maybe even for peace.
It's like understanding the blueprint before you can really appreciate the building,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of support and building knowledge, before we jump into that blueprint, we really want to give a special shout out. A big thanks to London HeartbeatsZ Academy, UK. They've provided educational support for this deep dive, which is fantastic.
Yeah, much appreciated.
And look, as we get into these complex definitions, we know a lot of you listening are keen on gaining really thorough knowledge, maybe accelerating your own expertise.
Definitely.
So we highly encourage you to check out London HeartbeatsZ Academy. They've got over 150 popular courses. Really dive deep into subjects you're passionate about.
And don't miss out on their free, regular updates either. You should subscribe to their social media channels. They're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Keep up with new discussions.
Yeah, great way to stay informed. And, for those of you looking for even more, like earlier access to educational videos or even personal chats and guidance sessions.
Oh, wow, yeah.
You should definitely look into subscribing to a higher level of their YouTube membership. It offers some really valuable extras.
Sounds like a great resource. Their commitment to expertise is obvious, and it's great they're backing this kind of detailed analysis we're doing today.
Totally agree. Okay, framework time. Let's get into part one, defining tourism and understanding its complexity. You try and define tourism and bam, you hit a problem straight away.
Yeah, it's slippery. Because the definition needs to work for so many different groups, right?
Yeah.
Governments, statisticians, economists, even sociologists.
Exactly. So we've got at least three major ways of looking at it right off the bat. And they don't always line up perfectly.
Let's start with the really strict one. You could call it the academic definition, maybe the exclusionary one.
Yeah.
It has roots in early studies, like from Bern University in Switzerland.
Okay, what's the core idea there?
It defines tourism as the sum of phenomena and relationships that happen because of the travel and stay of non-residents. Sounds a bit formal, I know.
Phenomenon relationships. Okay, but you said exclusionary.
Yeah, because the really crucial part is what it leaves out. What it says tourism isn't.
Ah, okay, so what's excluded?
Two big things. First, the travel must not lead towards permanent residence, so no migration.
Right, that makes sense.
Temporary. And second, it must not be connected to any earning activity in the place visited. This is huge.
So if you go somewhere and get paid for work you do there, you're not a tourist by this definition.
Exactly. This definition is trying to isolate the pure leisure traveler. The person there just for rest, fun, self-improvement, whatever, completely separate from earning money at the destination.
Why so strict about the money part?
Well, the idea behind it is statistical clarity. If you're earning money locally or planning to live there, your economic footprint is totally different.
How so?
You're potentially competing in the local job market, transferring wages, putting long-term demands on schools, hospitals, that sort of thing.
Ah, I see. So this definition tries to track only the temporary sort of discretionary spending, money coming in from outside without messing with the local job market long term.
Precisely. It's about isolating that injection of typically foreign cash that isn't tied to local employment.
Okay, that's one view. Pretty tight definition. What's another perspective?
Well, then you have what you might call the geographical or temporal definition. This one's maybe a bit more practical, often linked with groups like the Tourism Society in Britain.
Geographical, temporal, so about place and time.
Exactly. It focuses on the temporary short-term movement of people, specifically to destinations outside the places where they normally live and work.
So getting away from your usual routine and location?
And crucially, it also includes the activities people do during their stay, what they actually get up to while they're there.
So this one cares less about why you're there financially and more about the fact that you are there away from home doing stuff.
Pretty much. It emphasizes the displacement from the everyday. This is often the definition that, say, a hotel manager or a museum director might find more useful. They care if you're buying a room or a ticket, not necessarily if you answered a work email that morning.
Right, because you're still using their services, interacting with the local tourism system.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have the strict academic one focused on non-earning leisure, and the geographical one focused on temporary displacement and activity. What's the third?
This one's maybe the broadest and I think really insightful. It's the holistic or relational definition. Thinkers like Goldner and Ritchie championed this view.
Holistic, relational. Sounds bigger picture.
It really is. Because this definition says tourism isn't just about the trip itself. It's defined by the processes, activities, and outcomes that come from relationships and interaction.
Relationships. Between who?
That's the key. It forces us to see that the tourist is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. It identifies 5 key groups, stakeholders, involved in the whole process of attracting and hosting visitors.
Okay, who are they?
Well, obviously the tourists themselves, then the tourism suppliers, airlines, hotels, tour operators, restaurants, all those businesses.
Makes sense.
Then critically, the host governments. They set the rules, build infrastructure, market the destination.
Right.
And the host communities, the local people who live there, whose lives are impacted by visitors.
Okay, that's 4.
And the 5th, the surrounding environment, the natural and cultural setting that often draws the tourists in the first place.
Wow. So this definition sees tourism as this whole interconnected ecosystem. It's not just about the person on vacation.
Exactly. It highlights that tourism is this massive system. And if one part fails, say the environment gets degraded or the host community feels exploited, the whole thing can fall apart.
That feels much more comprehensive, acknowledging all the moving parts.
It does. And if you try to kind of pull these different definitions together,
Yeah.
you land on some core characteristics that people like Burkhardt and Medlick identified.
Okay, what are those?
First, tourism is inherently this mix, a combination of phenomena and relationships, like the definition suggests. It's complex.
Right.
And because of that complexity, it needs 2 essential elements that almost seem opposite, but they have to exist together.
Go on.
We call them the dynamic and the static elements.
Dynamic and static.
Well,
Like movement and staying still.
precisely. The dynamic element is the journey, the actual physical movement away from where you live and work. That needs transport, planes, trains, cars.
Okay, getting there.
And the static element is the stay, the time you actually spend in the new place. And that needs hospitality, infrastructure, hotels, food, local services, things to do.
So you need both the travel and the stay for it to be tourism.
Absolutely. You need both. If
Yeah.
you just fly somewhere, immediately turn around and fly back without really staying or doing anything, well, you've had a journey, but you haven't really completed the tourism cycle.
Got it. Travel plus stay.
And overarching all of this is the rule of return.
Rule of return.
Yeah, the whole trip has to be explicitly temporary and short-term. You have to intend to go back home within a relatively short period, days, weeks, maybe a few months.
Reinforcing that difference between tourism and migration or moving permanently.
Exactly. It locks in the temporary nature of the whole thing.
Okay, let's make this concrete. You mentioned that strict rule about not earning money in the first definition. How does that play out? Let's use a case example.
Good idea. Case example 1, the exclusion of earning activity. Let's call it the freelancer dilemma.
Okay.
Imagine, say, a skilled graphic designer. She decides she wants a change of scenery, a workcation. She flies from maybe Chicago to Mexico City for 2 months.
Nice trip.
Yeah. She spends maybe 4 days a week exploring museums, markets, soaking up the culture. But the other 3 days, she's working remotely on her laptop in her rented apartment.
Doing work for her clients back in Chicago, earning her usual income.
Exactly. She's staying in an Airbnb, eating at local cafes, paying for tours and entry fees on her days off. She's definitely injecting money locally.
So, is she a tourist?
Well, this is where the definitions clash. By the geographical definition, temporary movement away from home, engaging in activities, yeah, she looks like a visitor contributing to the local economy.
Well,
But according to that strict academic definition, the one from Bern University, Hunziker, and Kraft, because her activity is directly connected to earning her income while she's there.
she's not a pure tourist.
Technically, no. Not by that specific narrow definition. They'd classify her differently, maybe as a business traveler or perhaps under the newer category of digital nomad.
Even though she's doing typical tourist things most of the week?
Even then. Because the purpose connected to earning muddies the water for that strict statistical category focused purely on leisure spending funded from home.
Wow. Okay, so the practical summary here is that defining tourism isn't just about where you go or for how long. The why, especially whether you're earning money there, is a critical filter, at least for some important definitions.
Exactly. It shapes how economic impact gets measured and categorized.
That does raise a big point about policy, doesn't it? If governments rely only on that strict definition to gauge their leisure sector.
They could be seriously undercounting the economic activity generated by this whole growing wave of remote workers and digital nomads. People who use tourist infrastructure but fall outside that pure leisure box.
So the definition itself might lag behind how people actually travel and work now?
It's a definite challenge. The definitions provide a standard, but it's maybe a blunt instrument for today's world.
Yeah.
Still, it's a framework we generally use.
Okay, speaking of frameworks, let's check if we've got that first bit nailed down. Here's our first MCQ.
Let's do it.
MCQ 1. Which definition of tourism really emphasizes the whole system, the relationships and interactions between tourists, the businesses that serve them, the local communities, and even the governments?
Okay. Is it A, the one from the Tourism Society in Britain focusing on movement, B, the Hunziker and Kraft one from Barter with the strict exclusions, C, the Goldner and Ritchie holistic relational definition, or D, something from a United Nations conference?
What do you think?
That sounds very much like C, the Goldner and Ritchie one. That's one that talks about the whole ecosystem of the stakeholders interacting.
You got it. Answer is C, explanation. Goldner and Ritchie define tourism precisely as that system of relationships and interactions among all those different players.
Great.
Let's try one more on definitions. MCQ 2. According to that really strict definition from Bern University, Hunziker, and Kraft, which specific activity would stop a visitor from being classified as a tourist?
Okay, options are A, sightseeing, B, staying overnight, C, engaging in paid employment at the destination, D, visiting family.
Which one breaks the rule?
That has to be C, engaging in paid employment. That's the big exclusion they insisted on.
Perfect. Answer is C, explanation. The Bern University definition explicitly excludes travel connected to any earning activity performed within the destination country.
Okay, moving into part 2. Differentiating travelers and the elements of travel. So, while academics debated pure definitions, global bodies needed a practical way to count people crossing borders.
Right. For statistics, for planning. This led to the 1963 UN Conference on International Travel. They came up with a recommendation for defining a visitor.
And what was their take?
They defined a visitor basically as any person visiting a country other than that of earning money.
So they also kept that non-earning rule for international visitors in this context.
They did, for that standard definition. But the important thing was establishing this broad umbrella term, visitor.
Okay, so visitor is the big category.
Yes, and under that umbrella, the UN classification identified 2 main classes of visitors, and this distinction is absolutely fundamental to all modern travel statistics.
What are the 2 classes? Tourists and excursionists.
Tourists and excursionists. Okay, how do we tell them apart?
This is where we bring in the 4 basic elements of travel. These are like the universal building blocks used everywhere to classify any kind of travel.
The 4 core ingredients, what are they?
They are 1, distance, 2, length of stay at the destination, 3, purpose of travel, and 4, the nature of the tour, which we'll get to in the next part.
Okay, distance, length of stay, purpose, nature of tour. Let's break down the first 3. Element 1, distance and residence.
This one's pretty straightforward. The distance criterion is just about separating local travel, moving around within your own town or home community, from non-local travel, which is going away from home.
So popping to the local shops isn't tourism.
Exactly. And critically, this distance element specifically excludes 2 things. Your regular commute to and from work.
Makes sense, that's routine.
And any permanent change of residence. If you pack up and move 500 miles away to start a new life, that's migration, not tourism, no matter how far you went.
Got it. So it's non-routine travel away from your home base.
Hmm. And related to this, we also track the residence of the traveler. Just knowing where visitors are coming from. This is vital data for businesses, for research, for marketing.
Right, knowing your source markets. Okay, that's distance. What's element 2?
Element 2, length of stay. Now
Okay.
this is probably the single most powerful, most widely used quantitative distinction in the entire industry.
Length of stay. How long you're there for?
Yes. And it all hinges on one specific marker, the 24-hour boundary.
24 hours. That sounds precise.
It is. It's the line in the sand that separates those two types of visitors we mentioned, tourists and excursionists.
Okay, lay it out for us. How does the 24-hour rule work?
A tourist is officially defined as a temporary visitor who does one of two things.
Wow.
Either they make at least one overnight stay, or they stay at least 24 hours in the place they're visiting.
Overnight or 24 hours minimum, and temporary non-earning purpose still applies here.
Yes, the core motivation should generally be things like pleasure, rest, seeing family, that kind of thing, not setting up shop or taking a local job.
Okay, so that's a tourist. What about the other one? Excursionist.
An excursionist, and you often hear them called day trippers, is a temporary visitor who does not stay at least 24 hours and does not make an overnight stay.
So they come and go within the same day or under 24 hours without sleeping over.
Exactly. This 24-hour line is incredibly rigid in official statistics. It determines who gets counted in which economic bucket. It's a huge deal.
Let's pause on that because it seems really key. Time for another MCQ.
Good idea. Test this critical point.
MCQ 3. What is the minimum length of stay required for a temporary visitor to be officially classified as a tourist, based on this distinction?
Your options: A, 12 hours, B, less than 24 hours, C, at least 24 hours, or R, one overnight stay, D, one full week.
Tourist classification, minimum stay.
Gotta be C, at least 24 hours or the overnight stay. That's the defining line.
Correct. Answer is C, explanation. The criteria separating tourists from excursionists is hitting that 24-hour mark or making an overnight stay.
Okay, let's really explore the impact of this rule with another example. It seems simple, but the consequences are big.
Case example 2, the critical overnight stay and infrastructure impact. Let's picture a family. They live, say, 300 miles away from a huge famous theme park. That's definitely non-local distance.
Okay.
They drive there early one Saturday morning, arrive at 9 a.m. They spend the entire day, 15 hours, buying park tickets, food inside the park, loads of souvenirs. They have a blast.
Sounds like a good, albeit expensive, day out.
Totally. But then at midnight, 12 a.m., they get back in their car and drive the 300 miles home. They never checked into a hotel.
So despite the long distance, the long day, and spending probably quite a bit of money.
They didn't stay overnight, and they were there less than 24 hours total from arrival to departure from the destination area.
Which means statistically, they are excursionists, day trippers, not tourists.
Exactly. Now, why does that classification matter so much to the theme park town?
Oh, it matters hugely for planning and infrastructure. If that family had stayed overnight becoming tourists, think about the difference.
Okay, what difference?
They would have needed a hotel room. That means revenue for the hotel, wages for hotel staff, cleaners, receptionists, and crucially, they'd pay accommodation tax, which funds local services.
Right. The overnight stay triggers a whole different set of economic activities.
Absolutely. They might have eaten dinner outside the park, maybe breakfast the next morning. They would have used more water, electricity, potentially needed evening services. The excursionist family, while providing revenue during the day to the park itself.
They don't put demands on or contribute financially to the overnight hospitality infrastructure, the hotels, the late-night restaurants, the bed taxes.
Precisely. So a destination needs to know the ratio of tourists to excursionists. It affects everything from how many hotel beds are needed, to policing levels at night, to water treatment capacity, to projecting tax revenues accurately.
So that 24-hour rule isn't just some arbitrary number. It's a practical tool for financial and infrastructure planning based on the intensity of visitor impact.
Exactly right. It might seem rigid, but it serves a necessary bureaucratic and planning function.
Okay, makes sense. We've covered distance and length of stay. What's element 3?
Element 3 is the purpose of travel. We know how far and how long. Now it's why are you making the trip?
The motivation.
Yes. And understanding this is absolutely crucial for businesses trying to sell things to travelers, what we call market segmentation.
So how do they break down the why?
Our sources list several standard categories that are used pretty much globally. A big one is visiting friends and relatives, often shortened to VFR.
Right, VFR, that must be huge.
It is massive, especially for international travel. People often underestimate it, but it drives a lot of tricks.
Okay, what else?
Then you have travel for conventions, seminars, and meetings. This is often called IIE meetings, incentives, conferences, exhibitions.
Ah, the MICE market, usually high spenders, right?
Typically, yes. It's a very lucrative segment focused on business and professional gatherings. Then there's general business travel, too.
But wait, didn't we say earning money was excluded?
From the purest academic definition of tourist, yes. But within the broader travel and visitor framework that organizations track, business travel is absolutely monitored. These travelers might not fit the strict tourist box, but they spend enormous amounts on flights, hotels, restaurants.
Okay, so it's tracked separately, but still very important economically. Got it. What about non-work reasons?
Loads of those. You've got outdoor recreation, from hunting, fishing, boating, camping trips.
And nature-based stuff.
Then entertainment. This is probably what most people think of first. Sightseeing, going to the theater, sports events, theme parks, like in our example.
Fun stuff.
And finally, there's a category for personal reasons. This is kind of a catch-all for trips that aren't really leisure or business in the usual sense. Things like attending family events, weddings, funerals, or maybe traveling for medical appointments. Necessary, but not exactly a vacation.
So VFR, MAC, business, recreation, entertainment, personal. Knowing which bucket a traveler falls into helps businesses tailor their products and marketing.
Exactly. You wouldn't market a family holiday package the same way you'd market a spot at a medical conference.
Yeah.
The purpose dictates the need.
Okay, let's lock in these elements with a couple more MCQs.
Sounds good.
MCQ 4. Travel that happens just within a person's own home, community, or town. What kind of travel is that classified as according to the distance criterion?
Is it A, non-local travel, B, local travel, C, international tourism, D, excursionism?
Within the home community.
That's got to be B,
What?
local travel. Distance criterion separates local from non-local.
Correct. Answer is B. Explanation. The distance element specifically distinguishes local travel within the home area from non-local travel away from home.
Makes sense.
One more on elements. MCQ 5. Thinking about that distance criterion again, which of the following types of journey is explicitly excluded when defining travel distance for tourism purposes?
Okay, excluded. Is it A, visiting relatives, B, commuting to work, C, going camping, D, attending a wedding?
Which one doesn't count towards tourism distance?
Definitely B, commuting to work. That and changing residence are the two big exclusions for distance.
Spot on. Answer is B. Explanation. The distance criterion clearly excludes routine commuting to and from work, as well as permanent changes of residence. All right, we're making good progress. Let's move into part 3, the nature of the tour and destination anatomy. This covers that fourth element of travel we mentioned and also digs into the place itself.
Right, element 4, the nature of a tour. This element describes how the trip is actually structured logistically.
Okay, how do we categorize the structure?
First, we can look at it geographically. This is pretty simple.
Go on.
You have domestic tourism, which is any travel that happens entirely within the borders of one single country.
Okay, like traveling from California to Florida.
Exactly. And then you have international tourism, which is when you travel from one country or territory to another.
California to Mexico, for instance.
Right. And international tourism immediately brings in more complexity. Passports, visas, currency exchange, different customs regulations, border controls, much more involved.
Okay, that's geography. What about the structure of how the trip is bought or arranged?
This is a really important distinction, especially commercially. We differentiate between a package tour and an independent tour.
Package versus independent. I think I know this, but give us the official breakdown.
Okay, in a package tour, all the main bits of the trip, think flights, hotel, maybe airport transfers, sometimes even some meals or tours, are bought together for one single, all-inclusive price.
Bundled together.
Yes. And the key feature, according to the definitions, is that the individual price of each separate component, the flight cost, the hotel cost, cannot be determined by the buyer. It's hidden within the bundle.
Why hide the prices? What's the point of that?
Well, that's the business model of the tour operator who creates the package. Bundling allows them to negotiate bulk rates with suppliers, manage risk, offer a convenient one-stop shop product, and potentially build in their profit margin across the whole package without the consumer easily seeing the markup on each specific item.
So it's about convenience for the traveler, but maybe less transparency on cost breakdown.
That's the trade-off, generally. Now, the independent tour is the opposite. The traveler acts like their own travel agent.
How so?
They buy all the different parts of the trip separately. They book their flight directly from the airline, their hotel from a booking site or the hotel itself, arrange their own transport, maybe buy activity tickets individually.
So total control and transparency on each cost.
Yes, maximum flexibility and control for the traveler, but they also take on all the planning effort, the research, and the risk if something goes wrong, like a flight cancellation affecting a non-refundable hotel booking.
Okay, package versus independent. Got it. Now let's talk about the place itself, the destination.
Right. The tourist destination. Simply put, it's the geographical unit that the tourist actually visits and stays in.
And how big is a destination?
It can vary hugely. A destination could be a tiny, charming village. It could be a whole city like Paris or Tokyo. It could be a larger district or region like Tuscany. It could be an island like Bali. It could be an entire country or even a whole continent if someone's doing a massive trip.
So the scale is flexible, but it's the place that's the focus of the stay.
Exactly. It's the geographical anchor for the static element of tourism.
Now, what makes a destination work? What makes it successful and sustainable?
Well, its success really depends on the dynamic balance and the interplay between three fundamental factors. You often hear these called the 3 A's.
The 3 A's. Okay, what are they?
First A is attractions. This is the magnet. What initially draws people there? Could be natural wonders, beaches, mountains, wildlife. Could be cultural sites, historical buildings, museums, festivals. Could be man-made things, theme parks, unique shopping experiences, major sporting events. Without a compelling attraction, people have no reason to make the journey.
Okay, attraction is the pull factor. What's the second A?
The second A is amenities, sometimes called facilities. Once the attractions pull people in, they need services and infrastructure to support their stay.
So this is the stuff that makes the stay comfortable and possible.
Exactly. We're talking about hotels, guest houses, restaurants, cafes, shops, banks, hospitals, local transport within the destination, entertainment options. These are the facilities that enable the static element, the actual stay.
Right, you can have a great attraction, but if there's nowhere decent to stay or eat.
It's not going to work well. Which brings us to the third crucial A, accessibility.
Accessibility, how easy it is to get there.
Yes, and also to get around within the destination. This covers everything from good transport links, are there airports nearby, good roads, train services, ports, to things like reasonable visa requirements, easy border crossings, good local signage, maybe even language accessibility.
So even if you have amazing attractions and great hotels, if it's incredibly difficult or expensive or time-consuming to actually reach the place,
it becomes a major barrier. The destination won't reach its potential. These 3 A's, attractions, amenities, accessibility, have to be in balance. If one is weak, it undermines the others.
that makes a lot of sense. Attractions draw them, amenities serve them, accessibility gets them there.
A good way to remember it.
Let's do an MCQ on that destination concept, MCQ 7. Which of the following is not considered one of those 3 basic core factors determining a tourist destination's success and viability?
Okay, the options are A, attractions, B, amenities, C, advertising budget, D, accessibility. Which one is not part of the core 3 A's?
Attractions, amenities, accessibility seem key. Advertising budget.
Yeah, C. Advertising budget is the outlier here. While marketing is obviously important for promoting a destination, it's not considered one of the 3 fundamental structural factors, the 3 A's, that define its inherent viability.
Correct. Answer is C, explanation. The 3 core interdependent factors are attractions, amenities, facilities, and accessibility. Advertising supports attracting visitors, but isn't part of the core infrastructure itself.
Now, supporting this whole destination framework are the actual services tourists use. We can group these too.
The core tourist services, how are they categorized?
Our source material groups them logically. Group 1 is called the principal service group. This is all about passenger transport.
Ah, the services that enable the dynamic element, the journey itself. Airlines, trains, buses, cruise lines.
Exactly. That's fundamental. Then Group 2 covers the core services needed for the static element, the stay.
So this would be
Accommodation, hotels, etc., food and beverage, restaurants, cafes, and entertainment within the destination.
Right, the essentials for staying comfortably.
Group 3 consists of the services provided by the intermediaries, the travel agents, and tour operators.
The ones who bundle things together or help you plan and book.
They act as the link between the suppliers and the tourists, especially for package tours.
Okay, transport, stay essentials, intermediaries, is that it?
Well, there's also a category of other services. These are all the necessary, but sometimes overlooked bits and pieces.
Like what?
Things like currency exchange, help with documentation, visas, tickets, providing information, maps, guides, organizing local sightseeing tours, and of course, facilitating shopping, all part of the tourist experience.
It's a really comprehensive ecosystem when you list it all out.
It really is.
Let's do one more MCQ here, focusing on tour types. MCQ 6. In a package tour, what's the key financial characteristic regarding the different parts of the trip, like the flight and hotel?
Okay, options. A, the individual prices are easily separated by the buyer. B, the segments are always bought separately by the traveler. C, the individual prices cannot be determined by the buyer. D, it typically only includes accommodation and transport, nothing else.
Key financial feature of a package tour.
That has to be C. The defining thing is that the individual costs are bundled and obscured from the buyer in the all-inclusive price.
Exactly right. Answer is C, explanation. The bundled, opaque pricing where individual segment costs aren't discernible to the buyer is the defining financial characteristic of a traditional package tour. Okay, we've dissected the definitions, the travelers, the elements, the tours, and the destinations. Now for part 4. Characteristics, comparison, and importance of tourism. What makes this industry truly unique compared to others?
Tourism has some really special characteristics that set it apart, especially from manufacturing or agriculture, for instance.
Let's hear them. What's the first big difference?
The first one is perhaps the most fundamental, economically speaking, the consumer travel requirement. Unlike buying a car or a phone, where the product comes to you, in tourism, the consumer must travel to the product. You have to go to the destination to experience the service or attraction.
Right. You can't have the Eiffel Tower delivered to your doorstep.
Exactly. You have to go to Paris. This immediately ties the industry's success to things like transport infrastructure, local labor, and making sure money gets spent in the place being visited.
That's a huge difference from making something in one place and selling it globally. The spending is inherently localized.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Okay, second unique characteristic. Product longevity or maybe non-consumability.
Product longevity. What does that mean?
Think about the core products of tourism. A beautiful natural landscape, a historic castle, a stunning view. The source material notes that these things are not used up in the traditional sense when tourists experience them.
So looking at the Grand Canyon doesn't make the canyon disappear.
Pretty much. Now, obviously, overuse can cause damage, environmental degradation, that's a management issue. But the act of consuming the experience, seeing the view, visiting the site, doesn't deplete the core resource itself in the way that, say, mining depletes or logging removes trees.
That's a fascinating point. The asset itself ideally remains. The consumption is experiential, not material depletion.
Exactly. It's a very different economic model. Third characteristic. Tourism is fundamentally people-oriented. It's a highly labor-intensive industry.
Lots of jobs involved.
Tons. Think about hotels, restaurants, tour guides, transport staff, shop assistants, cleaners, maintenance crews. It relies heavily on human interaction and service delivery at every stage.
Which is why it's often seen as such a powerful tool for job creation, especially in areas without much other industry.
Precisely. It can provide employment across a wide range of skill levels, often in regions that need it most.
Okay, consumer travel, product longevity, labor intensity, anything else?
And the last one is just reinforcing what we've been discussing. Its inherent complexity, it's multifaceted, it involves many sectors, it's dynamic, and, importantly, it's often very seasonal.
Ah, the seasonal nature of tourism. That's a big one, right?
Huge challenge. Our source material mentions the contrast between visitor numbers in, say, March versus August. Think about a ski resort in summer versus winter, or a beach town in January versus July.
Massive difference in demand.
Right. And that seasonality creates major operational headaches. How do you keep staff employed year-round? How do you maintain facilities that are packed for 3 months and nearly empty for 6? How do you manage the intense pressure on roads, water, power during peak season without overbuilding for the rest of the year?
So managing those peaks and troughs is a constant balancing act for destinations.
Absolutely. It requires really smart planning, maybe developing off-season attractions, offering incentives to spread demand. It's a major strategic issue.
Okay, it's unique, it's complex, it's seasonal, but why does it all matter so much? What's the overall importance of tourism?
Well, the impact is massive and wide-ranging. First, obviously, is the economic significance.
Money, jobs.
Big time. It's a major contributor to gross domestic product, GDP, in many countries. It drives huge amounts of employment, both directly in tourism businesses and indirectly in supporting industries. It forces investment in infrastructure, airports, roads, utilities, which benefits locals too. And it's often a critical source of foreign exchange earnings, bringing in money from other countries.
So economically, it's a powerhouse. What else?
It also has profound social and cultural significance. Think about it. Travel brings people from different backgrounds together. It can foster cross-cultural understanding, maybe break down stereotypes.
The person-to-person connection.
Exactly. And often the money generated by tourism is what actually funds the preservation of historical sites, cultural traditions, local arts and crafts. Without tourists paying to see them, some might disappear.
So it can help keep culture alive.
Interesting. Then there's the educational significance. Travel exposes you to different histories, different perspectives, different ways of life in a way that reading a book or watching a documentary just can't replicate.
Learning through experience.
But the source material highlights one aspect of its importance above all others, potentially.
Which is?
It describes tourism as potentially an important vehicle for attaining global peace.
Wow, peace. That sounds ambitious. How?
The idea is that by fostering direct contact, understanding, and maybe even empathy between people from different nations and cultures, tourism can help bridge the divides that politics and conflict often create. When you meet people face to face, share an experience, see their everyday lives.
It makes it harder to demonize them or see them just as the other.
That's the hope, that the human connection fostered by travel can be a quiet but powerful force for mutual respect and ultimately peace.
That's a really powerful idea. Let's illustrate the economic side again, linking back to that unique consumer travel requirement.
Good plan. Case example 3, the economic multiplier and localization of wealth. Okay. Imagine a remote, maybe economically depressed region. He has beautiful old ruins, but not much else going on, high unemployment. The government decides to invest. They declare it a national heritage site. That's the attraction.
Right.
They improve the old bumpy road leading there. Accessibility. And they offer small grants to local families to convert spare rooms into simple bed and breakfasts, amenities.
So they're building the 3 A's.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, because the tourist, the consumer, must physically travel to see these ruins.
They have to use that newly improved road, maybe paying tolls or buying gas locally. They have to stay in those new local B&Bs. They need to eat, so they buy from the local bakery or market. Maybe they hire a local person who's trained as a guide.
Precisely. The money gets spent right there, directly in the community that needs the economic boost. It's not spent in some distant city where a tour company is headquartered.
And what happens then?
This triggers what economists call the multiplier effect. The B&B owner uses the money to hire a local person to help clean. That cleaner then spends their wages at the local grocery store. The grocery store owner now has enough money to finally get his shop roof repaired, so he hires a local roofer.
And the money circulates within the community, creating more jobs and more activity.
Exactly. That requirement for the consumer to travel to the product ensures the initial revenue stream is highly localized. It makes tourism a potent tool for regional development and spreading wealth, potentially much more effectively than, say, building one big factory in a city that might mainly benefit shareholders elsewhere.
That really clarifies the economic power of that unique characteristic. Okay, final set of MCQs to wrap this section up.
Let's do it.
MCQ 8. What's a unique characteristic that really differentiates tourism from, say, manufacturing industry?
Options. A, it is highly capital intensive. B, the product is usually standardized globally. C, the consumer must travel to the product service. D, it is only ever a domestic activity.
Key differentiator.
That has to be C. The consumer must travel to the product. That's the core difference we just discussed.
Correct. Answer C. Explanation. In tourism, the service or experience is consumed at the point of delivery, requiring the consumer to physically travel there, unlike manufactured goods.
Good. Next.
MCQ 9. According to the perspective presented in our source material, what is cited as arguably the most significant potential benefit of tourism on a global scale?
Is it A, maximizing profit for the tourism suppliers? B, attaining global peace. C, providing the most reliable form of employment. D, minimizing seasonal economic fluctuations.
Most significant global benefit mentioned.
That was a big one at the end. B, attaining global peace.
Right, again. Answer is B, explanation. The source explicitly emphasizes tourism's potential role as an important vehicle for attaining global peace through fostering cross-cultural understanding.
Okay, last one.
MCQ 10. Thinking about that product longevity characteristic according to the source, how does the consumption of tourism products, like visiting natural sites or historical landmarks, typically affect a country's underlying natural resources?
Options. A, they're rapidly used up and depleted. B, they're generally not used up or exhausted by the act of consumption. C, they require massive and immediate replacement after visits. D, they usually have to be imported to meet demand.
How does looking affect the resource itself?
The point was that they are B, not used up or exhausted ideally. The experience is consumed, not the physical resource.
Perfect. Answer is B, explanation. The source material notes that core tourism products like views and sites are generally not consumed or exhausted in the way physical resources are, assuming sustainable management. Wow, okay. We've covered a huge amount of ground there, really dissecting the anatomy of this massive global industry. Let's quickly recap the absolute top takeaways.
Sounds good. First big one, remember tourism is a system. It's not just about the traveler. It's this complex web of relationships involving tourists, businesses, governments, local communities, and the environment.
Right. Second takeaway. That 24-hour rule is crucial for definitions. It's the main statistical line separating a tourist 24-plus hours or an overnight stay from an excursionist, less than 24 hours, no overnight. This affects how economic impact and infrastructure needs are measured.
Third, the anatomy of travel itself. Every trip can be broken down and analyzed using those 4 core elements: distance from home, length of stay, the purpose of the trip, and the nature of the tour, whether it's a package or independent.
Fourth takeaway. The success of any tourist destination hangs on the balance of the 3 A's. Compelling attractions to draw people in, sufficient amenities and facilities to support their stay, and effective accessibility to allow them to get there easily.
And finally, number 5, the unique economy of tourism. Remember, it's typically very labor-intensive, often highly seasonal, and uniquely requires the consumer to travel to the point of consumption. This localizes spending, but also means the product itself, like a view, isn't usually depleted by being experienced.
Great summary. It really lays bare the structure beneath the surface of just going on a holiday.
It does.
So that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. We spent a fair bit of time discussing this idea, highlighted in the source, that tourism is considered a potentially vital vehicle for attaining global peace.
That powerful concept.
Now, we also established these really strict technical criteria used to define an official tourist for statistical purposes, especially excluding people earning money locally or those looking to stay permanently. This really isolates the pure leisure traveler.
Right, the definition focuses on a specific type of interaction.
So here's the question. Given the sheer scale, the economic power, the logistical necessity of just moving millions of people across borders every single day for all sorts of reasons, business, family, education, not just pure leisure, does that massive flow of people itself, regardless of the strict tourist definition, inherently build enough bridges? Does the economic interdependence and the basic human interaction involved in all international travel already act as the main engine for global understanding, maybe even outweighing political tensions sometimes?
Or is that deeper connection, that potential for fostering real peace, truly dependent on the motivation? Does it specifically require that pure tourist interaction travel, driven solely by non-commercial curiosity, cultural exchange, shared human experience, to make that meaningful link? Is it the why that matters most for peace, more than just the fact of being somewhere else?
Is a simple act of temporary displacement enough, or does the purpose have to be fundamentally non-transactional for that peace-building potential to be realized?
That's definitely something for you, the listener, to think about the next time you plan any kind of journey. What role does your travel play in that bigger picture?
Exactly. Are you primarily activating the economic machinery, or are you consciously participating in that potential for cross-cultural connection? Or maybe both.
Food for thought. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the anatomy of tourism.
We really hope you feel more informed about the complex structure holding up one of the world's biggest and most impactful industries. Until next time.